All right, this one right here is called Poker and Dealers and Players, right? I think when it comes to the game of poker, everybody should come in with the mindset of being professional. We're all grown people, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, we're all grown. And a lot of times, not for the most part, it's sprinkled, right? But when it does happen, it does make you wonder what's the problem, right? I've seen episodes of blow-ups where players will get mad at the dealer, like the dealer cost them their money. Psychologically, it'll make it seem that way. Now, I'm talking about the dealer that did nothing wrong. They shuffled the cards right. They gave everybody their cards. Nobody card flipped. Everything was perfect. The dealer is silent, right? He's not, and she's not paying attention to what the conversation is. She's actually just controlling the game. You get a hand that you feel should make you a good return, right? You playing and you do everything right, and then on a river card, somebody, for some reason, got there. And you look at the dealer and you say, dealer, really? This is what you're doing? And for the most part, some of us do it and we're joking. We're joking. But some players, they are serious and they have blow-ups. They have certain dealers that once they sit down, they already are going at them. The dealer hasn't even sat down yet. They just know it's that dealer's turn. And when they come, they say, oh, here come this guy. I can't stand this MF. Always setting me up for failure. Always giving me good hands, and then they never hold up. Me and this guy or this lady, we just don't vibe. We just don't jam. We just don't gel together, right? But they're being disruptive about the deal. I've seen players take their cards, and I kid you not, like I said, we all grown. Like I say, a dealer puts up with a lot, right? Number one, they're getting paid whatever they get paid. I don't even understand the structure of the pay or what their salary could be, but I know that a lot of times when they're in the box, depending on how good they are, how efficient they are of getting and controlling the game and getting them cards out and moving the game along, they can make some good money on tips while they're sitting there. Because me, myself, I'm a 5 person. If I win a good hand, 9 times out of 10, I throw the dealer a 5, right? If I win a certain amount and it's explosive, I throw 20. The most I think I paid a dealer one time was probably $50 to $75 on a hand that I got. It was a major win, and I think I gave $50 to $75. I've seen some players, they win, and they give a dealer over 100 and something, right? Depending on what the amount of the pot was. We've seen that happen. So they can make their money. But at the same time, we're grown. And like I said, I've seen players take their cards, and when they lose, instead of throwing them into the muck, they throw them at the dealer. What they do is they try to make it look like they're not looking right at the dealer when they do it, but everybody got common sense can tell. That dealer took them cards and he flicked them because he already has a bad run with this dealer, right? I've seen where a guy got banned from a poker house that we play in, and they banned him because he had so much unprofessionalism with this dealer that whenever he got in the box, that dealer almost for the 30 minutes that he was going to be sitting there, this player would just needle him. Talk about him on an IQ level, talk about him on a look level, all kind of stuff. And management, for the most part, will control it. But a lot of times, this place was kind of, they didn't have certain people that should be there managing, and they looked at it, and they was part of the problem too, because they were just there looking like they're doing a job without doing a job. They're just there, right? But they don't really control the atmosphere. So when something does happen, it's almost like they look the other way. So one day, this guy did that, and he did it with the wrong manager. The manager reported it. They took him to the back. They banned him, walked him out the building. He's done. He came back, but he had to have, it was a while before he came back, but he wanted to play so bad that he finally gave in. He called him, came back, they had a sit down, and as grown people, last thing you want is a grown man chastising you about how unprofessional you've been, right? And we're not gonna tolerate it. But, you know, he had to either bite it, understand it, and leave it alone. And that's what he did. So last I heard, he finally just stopped going over there to play. From what I understand, either he's not playing, period, like they say, because I know where I played, I haven't seen him. And but you always hear stories about the other place, and they're always saying how certain players, you know, this happened, you know, this happened, and things like that. But yeah, dealers. I think now, if you're talking about the player being who they are, then you have to also talk about the dealers and how they can mess up a person's gain, right? By not paying attention or doing what they're supposed to do. Case in point, I was in a hand with somebody, and this dealer is conversating with people, right? Instead of paying attention to what's going on. And it was 3 of us in the hand. I was first to act. So I betted, and I made it a good bet. The second person that was after me, he folded, and so did the third person. So he folded. He took his hand. He didn't say fold, but he threw him in the front and out in the middle. And what happened was the other guy folded, and then this guy all of a sudden said, "Oh, whoa, let me look at my hand." I said, "Hold up, he folded. His hand should be dead. This guy right here already folded. There's action. He folded." The dealer calls Floor. Floor comes over, and they say what took place was not considered a fold. And I said, BS, what are you talking about? That's almost like saying somebody can throw their hand in and then 2 people behind them fold, and all of a sudden he comes back and say, "Oh, let me look at my hand." And you're gonna tell me that's not dead? And he said, "Did the dealer grab the cards?" We said, "No, you don't have to." The guy threw his hand out. He's done. This other guy folded right behind him because he saw him fold. He folded. And it wasn't like he immediately done it. He took almost 2 to 3 seconds, and then he just threw his hand in as well. The hand should have been dead. I should have had the chips. I looked it up on Google, and I ran that scenario, and that said his hand was dead. His hand was dead because that other guy had folded as well. Now, if that guy didn't fold, he could go back in there and grab his cards, right? Because they were face down. They didn't touch anything. The dealer didn't do anything. I got into that dealer's, man, not hard, but I was so upset because I said, this is the problem. Y'all sit here and then y'all running your mouth and you're not paying attention. Soon that man threw his cards out, you were supposed to grab them. You were supposed to take that hand in to make that a dead hand, but he's over looking to his other side and he's talking to somebody. He's not paying attention. So this is when I'm talking about how dealers can mess up the game flow of a player because that opportunity may never come again. You get what I'm saying? Because you don't just automatically run into a poker room and just start winning. It don't work like that. The other thing, is when players are conversating, right? Unless a player is actually talking to a dealer, and me, myself, we all do it for some reason. We all do it. Depending on if you get comfortable in a place like we got these poker rooms, you get comfortable and you get to know everybody. So sometimes, conversation does take place. And for the most part, though, I know I try to keep my conversation only with the players, right? I'm not talking to the dealer. I'm paying you. We are paying you at the time that you're sitting here, right? Because based on how you make things happen for us, we throw tips towards you, right? Where I play at, players tip. Now, I've been to some places where they don't. And I think the reason why they don't It's just that. It's just that because they probably view the dealers as not being on the professional level as they should. So they're saying, why am I giving you my money? Right? Just deal the cards. And I've noticed that when I go to other places. But here, for the most part, I see the players, they actually do still tip the dealers, and they have a habit because we all know each other from back in the days. A lot of these players are local, right? The dealers are local. So they pretty much all run in the same circle. And when they're sitting there, they may be holding conversation and talking about something, and it don't mean anything wrong by it. It's just something that people get used to hearing. But me, myself, when I'm sitting there, I don't like when a dealer puts themselves into the conversation like they should really be in it. If you want to talk while you shuffling, that's fine. Talk while you shuffling. The minute you start dealing and you get them cards out there, you should be doing nothing but your eyes should be straight. And you should be pointing to the players, paying attention to what's going on. It shouldn't be you're holding conversation and then all of a sudden you say where we at? I've seen dealers do that. I've seen dealers actually do that. And man, I swear to God, that burns me up. I hate when I hear that because I'm older. I'm 60 years old, bro. When we get older, it's just some things you just don't want to tolerate no more. When you're young, it's different. When you get older and you get in that stage like I am now, I'm in that stage where I hear everything. I'm looking and I look at the professionalism, and I swear to God, it tweaks me up sometimes. I get burnt because I'm like, what the world you mean? Where we at? You're the dealer. You should know where we at. You shouldn't be saying whose turn is it. You should already know because you're paying attention. So again, that is one of the big problems when it comes to dealers. The other one, like I said, they're dealing, and instead of them making sure them cards land like they should, they're flinging them. They're just flinging them. I know some dealers that don't miss a beat. I swear to God, I know some dealers that don't miss a beat when it comes to them shuffling and when it comes to them throwing them cards out. And I've already called them out where I say, if I had to give somebody stars and if I had to say, y'all should make a video of this dealer when he's dealing and go off his blueprint, this is the one y'all should be paying attention to. Because there's a dealer they have, and this guy, he sits down, he says hello to everybody. If he knows you, he acknowledges you. And then after that, for 30 minutes, he's in the zone. He's making it happen. Them cards are getting out to everybody. I've rarely ever seen him mess up with a deal as far as saying, bring them back in, right? I've seen where we could be doing something and you get certain dealers, and I swear to God, it seemed like almost every 30 minutes that they're doing it, we always have to throw our cards back in because they did something off. They did something that we couldn't keep going. And we all had to throw our cards right back into the muck and shuffle over again. Somebody had ace, king, somebody had aces. And you hear them say, really, dealer? Or something like that. Turn over their aces. And it happens with certain dealers. Almost every 30 minutes they get in, you always at least one time, maybe two times out of their 30 minutes, we all never get to see our cards because we gotta throw them back in because something happened. Bring it back. It happens. But there's one guy that they got in there, and it could be two. They got another one that they brought in, and everybody was talking about him. They were bragging and boasting and saying, man, this guy they brought in, he's so good that he knows what the chips are without even stacking them. He's already put it in his head. He knows how much is in the pot already. That's how good he is. So again, this video right here is just about how professionalism should be a positive when you're in the poker room, but sometimes it turns into a negative, and it goes both ways between the dealers and the players, because some players don't take their foot off the gas when they have a certain dealer that they just don't like as a dealer, and they let it be known. Me, myself, I have dealers that if they get in a box, I know a lot of times they don't give me hands I'm looking for. And me and that dealer, we sit back and laugh about it because it's a joke. As a joke. And I sit there and say, boy, I swear to God, boy, when you dealing me cards, you make me look good in the beginning, and then sometimes you find some way to kill me at the end, right? And it's always a joke. I never take it personal because it is. I just always understand that it is what it is. That dealer, I can count on my hands and toes and then some of how many times they've dealt me cards, and I rarely get a win with them. I rarely get a win, but they're good people to me, right? When I walk in, I'm giving them dap. I'm asking them how they doing, how life is, and stuff like that. And then the minute we sit down and they get in a box or whatever, I already got it in my mind. If I see a hand with this person, I'll be shocked, but I don't rag on them, right? That's not what I'm there for. But you have some players that do that, and they take it to a whole nother level. And then you got some dealers that for some reason, once they get in the box, it's almost like, hey, everybody, listen to me. Listen to me. If somebody got a story, nobody is trying to hear your story for them 30 minutes. If you want to tell your stories after 30 minutes, fine, you're done dealing. But when you're in that box, you got to learn to bite your tongue and just hold off. When you shuffling, if you want to talk, say whatever you want to say. But once them cards get out, you should be focused on the situation. But like I said about that one person, he's focused from the time he sits down. He just gives everybody a knowledge. He does, just like he nods his head. He sit there and say, how's it going? How's it going? Things like that. All right, y'all ready to play? Let's get it. And then the minute he says that and he goes into his zone, 30 minutes. And I've already given him the green light of who I say will be my 5-star. If I had to say who would be my 5, it don't have to be with me winning, right? All I know is I never see this guy ever take a day off when he's there shuffling and dealing. He looks like he's just in a zone. He moves around. When they tell him he got to push or whatever it is, go to the next table, he ain't going around jaw-jacking with everybody and then, he should be in the box already. No. He is moving and he's going to his next spot where he's supposed to be at. Now, there's a couple of poker houses that I go to when I travel, and I see that all the time. These dealers, they got them on a plateau where they know they just walk right up and they just stand behind the dealer, tap him on the shoulder. They sit down. How's everybody doing? And they just start putting in work. But the place where I play at, for the most part, when you see that, I can count on my hand how many dealers that actually sit down and bring it, right? And that's not even anything what it is. It's just the way it is. So I'm being honest when I say it. But that is the nature of the beast when it comes to in there. You got some players that do what they do with dealers, and then you got some dealers that once they sit down, they almost forget that they're the deal only for 30 minutes. That's just being real. That's being honest. And it does mess up some players' hands. Yours truly. I've had it happen. So again, that is just my take on what I think it should be. It should be about etiquette from both parties, right? It should be both people as players and dealers should be there with the same type of professionalism. If you want to talk to the players as players, do that. If dealers want to talk, I think it should be when they get the shuffling and they want to say something while they're shuffling. But once them cards get out there and they start dealing, they should be making sure everybody get their 2 cards like they're supposed to. And it should be no bring it back, right? Accidents happen, but I know some dealers where they say it almost every time they're in the box. For every 30 minutes, bring it back. Something happened. There you go. So again, with that said, I'm out. Y'all be cool. Take care. Peace.